At the 2014 Boao Forum for Asia, BFA Annual Conference, Fu Ying, chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee of China's National People's Congress, once said, "The Philippines is a naughty pal." And it seems that this naughty pal doesn't like to communicate with others, but makes troubles all the time. This indeed has caused headaches for his friend, China. The ex-president of the Philippines, Aquino III, himself is more like a naughty pal than the Philippines. Before Aquino III took office, China and ASEAN countries already signed the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea to restrict the behavior of all parties in the South China Sea and safeguard regional peace and stability. But after Aquino III came to power, he was unwilling to abide by the declaration recognized by all the pals in the region. And due to the instigation by some other countries outside the region, the South China Sea has become a troubled region. As we all know, it is natural for neighbors to have some small friction. Everything will be fine if they sit down and have a good talk. But within his tenure, Aquino III just compared his friction with China on the South China Sea to a boxing game. The friction between China and the Philippines started this way. Aquino III claimed a region of China belongs to the Philippines. So when China is trying to recover its sovereignty over the region through rational negotiations, he just thought, since I occupied the region in the 1960s and 1970s, then the region should belong to me. This is just like someone has occupied your land for several decades. When you negotiated with him to claim it back, he started to question your ownership. Then how can you let this happen? The cause of the dispute is absurd enough, but what's more absurd is the subsequent filing of the case. Aquino III unilaterally initiated compulsory arbitration and presented to the tribunal a memorial carefully disguised by his legal team. Actually, the essence of the Philippines submission is about territorial disputes, which goes beyond the scope of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. It also has no relevance to the interpretation or the application of the Convention. The maritime delimitation was excluded from a compulsory settlement by China's declaration in 2006 in accordance with Article 298 of the Convention. In addition, to resolve the disputes in the South China Sea through negotiation is an agreement reached between China and the Philippines, which followed bilateral documents and the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea. The Philippines violated international law when it unilaterally submitted China-Philippines dispute for compulsory arbitration. As an old saying goes, he who first offends will first complain. China will not accept such an absurd lawsuit, but as a neighbor sharing borders with the Philippines, China remains humane, courteous, and restrained. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China has repeatedly emphasized the principle of no acceptance and no participation. Of course, we will not implement something so irrational. We have sent the message numerous times in the hope that Aquino III, the ex-president of the Philippines, could sit down and have a good talk with us. But the Aquino government has no intention for consultation. Instead, he invited third parties to join the absurd play. If two neighbors have friction, is it fair for other neighbors to reason things out? But how can an outsider just barge in? We all know that this outsider is manipulating the Philippines step by step in the game against China. They have a very clear-cut division of labor. Aquino III makes provocations. The United States gathers a group of allies to challenge China by words. And then the U.S. sends aircraft and warships to the courtyard of China to flex military muscles and conduct reconnaissance. People almost cannot tell whether the frictions are between China and the Philippines or whether the United States is making trouble with China. Till now, over 60 countries and international organizations understand and support China. There's an old saying in China that goes, "A just cause enjoys abundant support, while an unjust cause finds little support." Aquino and those in the U.S., have you heard this?